Update: husband was killed in a car crash and left us in debt. Original post: forgive me if this is a little disjointed. I'm still reeling from trying to wrap my head around my current situation. My husband passed away very suddenly recently, and in the week since his passing, I have discovered that he was keeping huge secrets from me. In going through our financial information, I have discovered multiple credit cards in his, mine, and the kids' names that are at a maximum balance. 2 sets of loan papers from different banks for over $20,000. Paperwork that says our mortgage is 4 months behind, and a ton of other things that I can barely make sense of. From what I can tell, his business hasn't been making any actual money in over a year, and our savings accounts are drained. There is evidence that he has been using some gambling website and has lost thousands and thousands of dollars. I've been a stay-at-home mom for our entire marriage, and he owned his own business, so he handled everything with the money. I have no idea how to deal with any of this or what to do. I know I need a lawyer, but our accounts are pretty much empty, and I'm at a total loss over what to do. Are there any free legal options I can look into? I have tried to call a bunch of lawyers that all of them have said they won't give out any advice or counsel over the phone. Am I liable for all this debt even though I didn't consent to my name, and certainly not my kids' names, being used to open credit cards? I feel like an idiot for being this uninformed, but I'm completely unprepared to deal with this, and I'm terrified we are going to lose our house and worse. I never in a million years dreamed he would do this to us. Can anyone point me in the right direction, please? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I have discovered multiple credit cards in his name, mine, and the kids' names that are at a maximum balance. Credit cards in kids' names or your name that you did not open is identity theft. You should report it. There's a lot of good information on the r/personal finance sidebar. I'm sorry this happened to you. Good luck. OP this so much. It's identity fraud. File a police report, then send it to each of the card holders. Follow the advice on personal finance. In addition to what others have said, do not make any payments on any of your husband's debts until after you have made absolutely sure that you are responsible for them. Any type of payment or even acknowledgement of a debt can make you responsible for it even if you wouldn't have been otherwise. By absolutely sure, I mean that you've consulted a lawyer who has looked at your entire situation and concluded that you are responsible. This is not true. I worked in the estate department for half a decade in one of the big 4 banks. Just because you make a payment does not give us the right to change guarantors and be entitled to collect directly from you. It is good advice not to pay indeed, but making a voluntary payment does not obligate you to pay the rest. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. They will file a claim against the estate, then you will likely need an attorney to put together a list of assets and liabilities. Then you need to declare your right to a spousal allowance as it gets paid out before debtors get anything. Then the schedule of debts come into play, and depending on how much money falls into your husband's estate, will depend what gets paid. Much will likely be written off as long as your name wasn't attached. Making a payment on a debt that isn't yours doesn't automatically mean you assume it though. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. First, I'm very sorry for your loss. And I'm further very sorry that you were left in this awful predicament by somebody you trusted. If you are looking for free legal options, there are several in Ohio. If you search Ohio Legal Aid on Google, several organizations come up. It's going to be a bunch more phone calls, but you should be able to get help that way. Depending on your income, they'll either offer you aid or else they'll be able to refer you to an attorney. You will certainly need an attorney to navigate all of this. I hope also that you have emotional support through all of this. You are going through a lot. I wish you all the best. Now for the first update. I wanted to give you an update since so many people gave advice and said such kind things. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented and gave me advice. I'm sorry I didn't respond to the other post. I was just so completely overwhelmed. I still am really, but I did read every comment and message and I appreciate everyone that took time to comment. I was able to find some legal help, and we are working on sorting out the mess my family's in. Things were far worse than I even knew when I made my first post. Altogether, the debt that was accumulated is close to $500,000. At this point, I have no idea how much I'm going to end up responsible for. The lawyer has said it could take years to sort everything out. No matter what happens, we are going to be losing the house. I'm working on finding us somewhere to stay before they actually foreclose so we don't get evicted and have that on my record too. I want to try to answer some of the questions and advice people mentioned in the other post. I have 3 kids, so that is the we that I keep saying. The older two are from a previous relationship, but I have contacted Social Security to get benefits started for my youngest. Thank you to the user who mentioned that. My husband's business was a computer/tech repair company he ran by himself. He had a few people he would call in to help with larger jobs, but 95% of everything was him alone. Last year or so, it appears he wasn't doing any actual work and there was no money coming in. He took money from the business to cover what he took from our personal accounts, and then took out loans to cover the business, and spent it all away on gambling and other illegal activities that have come to light over the past few weeks. I'm sorry to be vague, but it's just embarrassing and hard to talk about. To the people who said that maybe the crash was intentional, it is looking increasingly likely that it was. Nobody else was involved. His car went off the road and hit a tree. He had life insurance before, but he stopped paying the policy months ago. I'm in contact with the police about the credit cards in our names and the other things that were discovered. All in all, things are looking really bleak at the moment, but I have faith that eventually it will work out. I have a few leads on jobs and have picked up a little temporary work here and there the last few weeks, so that we have something coming in. I have signed up for food stamps and Medicaid, so once that goes through, it will be a bit of help. I applied for AMHA as well, but they said waitlist can be a few years wait, so that is kind of long shot. Someone has suggested asking family/friends for help or loans, and they absolutely would help me if they could, but none of them are in a financial position to be able to help. My sister will hopefully be able to let us stay with her temporarily until I can sort things out and get us back together. She's my only living family and has been my rock through all this. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you all again for listening and helping. If anyone else has any more suggestions in trying to pick up the pieces that I haven't thought of, I would appreciate any advice. Second update. First of all, sorting things out didn't take nearly as long as we thought it would. Things ended up being a lot more straightforward than they first appeared. I will be filing for bankruptcy, probably early next year. I've talked intensively with a lawyer and weighed my options, and that seems like the best way to move forward at this point. 90 to 95% of the debt should be discharged with bankruptcy, so that is a good thing, although it's bittersweet. We are losing the house. We will be moving out by November 30th. I am worried about the bankruptcy/credit issues with trying to rent an apartment. However, I'm now on the list for PMHA housing, and from what I've heard, the wait isn't long at all. We ended up not being able to count on staying with my sister for longer than about a week, thanks to her jerky landlord, so I'm trying to find something else in the meantime. I have a few options to look into. Honestly, I'm not that sad about the fact that we have to move out of the house. The old place is filled with tainted memories now, and I think it will be good to get a fresh start. I've been assured by the police and my lawyer that because of the criminal nature of opening the accounts in the kids' names, we should be able to get their credit cleared. That one might be a long road, but we'll get through that too. My applications for Medicaid and food stamps came through, so that is some definite stress off my shoulders. I made the girls and myself an appointment at a family counselor, which we will be going to next week. The lady at PMHA Housing was very reassuring and very sweet about my situation, and she made it sound like I was pretty much a shoo-in as soon as a place opened up. Last but not least, I listened to the many Redditors that told me to make a post over r/Santa's Little Helpers to inquire about help with Christmas for the girls. So hopefully we will be able to find some holiday help, and that'll be another huge load of stress lifted off my shoulders. I want to thank everyone who messaged me and offered words of encouragement and support. I can't even begin to tell you how much it means to me to know that I'm not alone. I never imagined Reddit to be an empathetic and caring source of comfort, but it turns out that is exactly what it is. Thanks again, everyone. Now for the final update. Hello, everyone. I wanted to give one last update to my situation since so many of you reached out to me. This has been a whirlwind few weeks. A lot of change, a lot of stress, and a lot of hard work. As difficult as all this has been, and will still be to go through, I am feeling more positive than I have in months. The legal issues are being dealt with as best they can for the moment, and we are looking at filing bankruptcy early next year. It is scary to think about, but I do know it is our best option and things will work out in the end. We moved out of our house almost a week ago. It feels very bittersweet and the girls are having a difficult time, but I know they will adjust, and I really do think a fresh start will be the best thing for us. The girls are in individual grief counseling and we began family therapy. I will be making an appointment for myself as well, something so many of you encouraged me to do. Some of my good news now. We were able to find a permanent place to live. with a very sweet landlord who is sympathetic to my situation and has previous experience with the welfare system, and has bent over backwards to help me through all of the red tape. We will be moving, again, into the new place at the end of this month. Hopefully that will be the last time we have to move for a very long time. My second huge piece of good news to update with is that I got a job. I'm now working full-time in an office of a company that is owned by someone I met through my post here. She contacted me after my last update and offered me a trial run with her company. I started this past Monday, and so far, so good. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful to her for giving me a chance. That brings me to my third point and really the reason I'm making this update. I wasn't sure what to expect when I first reached out for advice here. I just felt so overwhelmed with the situation, and I think I was just mostly wanting to not feel alone and to connect with and talk to people who had some understanding of what I was dealing with. The advice, the stories of dealing with similar circumstances, the encouraging messages, the fact that you all literally saved Christmas for me and my kids, a new freaking job, and just the empathy and kindness you all have shown to me and my family is so far beyond anything I expected that I don't even know the words to express how grateful and humbled and loved it has made me feel. It is going to be a long, tough road, but I have total faith that things will be okay, and that it is in a large part due to the r/legal advice community. So in closing, I want to say thank you to every single person who reached out to me in any way, shape or form. Thank you for lifting us up and helping us through this. You guys have saved me in a million different ways that I will always be grateful. I hope you all have the merriest Christmas ever. I got so angry reading this. What an utter douchebag. I'll probably sound cynical, but this is the part that angers me the most. To the people who said that maybe the crash was intentional, it is looking increasingly likely that it was. And he had life insurance before, but he stopped paying the policy months ago. Selfish to the end. Yeah, my dad has some financial and health problems and ended himself. But he had life insurance policy in place that would have paid out, even if his death was ruled as self-inflicted. Most life insurance plans will pay out for self-harm if they've been kept for over 2 years. To let the payment lapse and still end yourself is incredibly messed up. Could have at least done it before you stopped being able to pay for life insurance. Sorry for your loss. My dad did the same but also had life insurance. My granddad, father's father, convinced my mother to not make a claim on the policy because it would be shameful. So instead, we lived in poverty while she worked multiple low-paying gigs to keep up with the mortgage payments and feed us kids. Wasn't until she got a new partner several years later that he talked some sense into her and convinced her to look into the policy. At that point, however, too much time had passed to make a claim. She's still living off of my home country's equivalent of Social Security, and I got to pretty much raise myself because she needed to work and there was never anyone home. I can't help but think that despite my dad's terrible choices, he at least thought we'd be set without him when in reality we are not. Now for the last story. He wants the perks of being my boyfriend but doesn't want to commit. Hi everyone. So I need to understand if I did something wrong by telling my ex-boyfriend that after I moved out and our business can run itself, I'll start traveling around the world without him. My ex-boyfriend, 23, and I, 23 female, broke up in September after being together for 6 years. I moved in with him towards the end of last year. He had made new friends and unfortunately their happiness became his priority, and I understood that. However, he attended a birthday gathering of a girl who doesn't like me and once told my boyfriend, now ex, that one day if he's drunk at a club, it's okay for him to cheat on me. She has also asked my ex why he hasn't cut me off completely since we broke up. Anyway, I confronted him about attending the party and he tried to play dumb and said he was only there to show the girl's boyfriend his support. Things got heated and we both realized that we were at a different points in life and decided to end things. However, we are still sharing our apartment, and because of this, he still has access to me. He still needed us to act like a couple, so that he gets the boyfriend perks, but I'm left in a situation where I can't ask for anything, or for him to change his ways because I'm not his girlfriend. Yesterday, we were talking about moving, and I said I would be moving soon. He asked why I didn't say we are moving, and I said because we agreed that we are not moving into the same place. He had suggested that we move into the same apartment building. And if I'm being honest, I want my space. This morning, he asked if we should move to Namibia after our business can run itself. And I said I'll probably go to Europe. He asked again why I'm not including him in my plans, and I explained the same thing to him. He then asked if I'm staying with him because I want to or because of the business situation. And I again clarified that he was the one who introduced this idea of me finding my own place. Now he's sad, and he's saying he was naive to think I would still want him in my life. He wants us to be best friends, but wants me to treat him like my boyfriend. He wants me to include him in my plans, tell him everything that happens in my life, sleep with him and be there for him 24/7. I honestly feel like he wants to keep me close so that he has control over what I do and the people I meet. I no longer want to give him access to me. What he did really hurts me. I'm struggling to move past it and I still need time to heal. But I feel like he's rushing me. I do want us to be friends but on my own terms. So I need to understand if I did something wrong. Edit. To everyone who thinks it's my fault because I sent a mixed message and to all those being mean. My ex gets grumpy if I share anything he doesn't agree with. He starts banging doors and acts like he's being forced to talk when I try talking to him. He becomes very uncomfortable to be around, and his energy is draining. He also tends to stop working and often uses me voicing out my concern as an excuse for being depressed and not being able to work. This leaves me having to take on all the workload. On the day we broke up, he tried to cut me out of our business, and I have invested my life into this thing. I'm just trying to hold on until I can get the proper papers done and then leave. I'm doing the best I can with the situation before me. To everyone sending encouraging words, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your kind words and advice. I'll definitely update everyone on the day I finally move out. Now for the advice. Remind him that friends don't just sleep together or plan to spend the rest of their lives living together. That's weird as heck. Once you move out, seems like this problem also basically disappears. So that's a good idea. The only thing you did wrong was not moving out immediately and cutting contact. It's possible to be friends once the emotions of the breakup wash over. Currently, it seems your ex hasn't really grasped what breaking up really means. Show him. Update. Am I the a-hole for predetermining my baby's sex? Original post. Okay, to start, me 27 female and my husband 28 male have been married for 4 years. His parents, his mother specifically, and I have never had any problems, but we've never quite meshed or seen eye to eye. We've always just got along and been civil. Our future family has been a talk for years. My husband will be the last of his siblings to have children. All of his siblings have at least one. It's been a running joke in the family that if our first happens to be a girl, she won't be accepted because everyone else had a boy for a firstborn. The joke has never sat quite right with me, but I've laughed it off because I don't want to start anything, and maybe I'm just being sensitive. Fast forward to a few months ago when we started trying. It took about 3 months for me to get pregnant. We tracked my cycle and had scheduled our activities for the best chance. Infertility runs in my family, and my hubby and I agreed on a big family, so I've been worried about starting a family so late in the game. When I did get pregnant, we were overjoyed. We had all the typical couple conversations that come with having a baby. The excitement, names, nursery themes, gender predictions, etc. He talked about wanting a son first, so he could be the big, strong leader for all his younger siblings and carry on the family name. A very big deal to him instilled by his parents. I expressed my desire to have a little girl I could dress up and match with. It became a playful banter. He'd refer to the baby as son and I would call the baby our daughter. About a week before our gender scan, I searched up all the old wives' tales and made us a chart we could fill out together to see who would hypothetically win our little bet. It included a ring test, Chinese horoscope, heartbeat, cravings, etc. The results ended up being about 50-50 in the end, which made us even more excited to find out for certain at our scan. The following week, we went to our appointment and discovered that our baby was a girl. We were both extremely excited. Hubby was disappointed to lose but told me he was overjoyed to be raising a daughter by my side. That night, we called our families to share the news. After calling his family, his mother asked to speak to him privately. I went to bed alone as their conversation carried on for well over an hour. The following morning, I woke up alone. There was a note on my husband's nightstand explaining that someone would be by the house to pick up his belongings later this evening. I immediately tried to call him, only to realize he had blocked my number. I then tried his mom. His mother picked up on the first ring, but before I had a chance to get a word in, she started chewing me out, calling me a manipulative witch. I asked her what I had done, and she told me I'd ruined her son's reputation with my inexcusable behaviors and tendencies. I let her finish her rant before kindly asking her what the heck she was talking about. She told me the divorce papers were already written up, and I wouldn't have the chance to tear apart the family like I had been intending to do all this time. I again, slightly less kindly this time, asked her what the heck she was talking about, to which she told me my husband would be leaving me because our child is a girl. I was gobsmacked. I explained to her that it takes two to tango, and there's no way to truly decide the gender of the baby. And if her or her son had a problem with the gender, it was his fault as it's his chromosome that determines the gender. But she said she had proof that I'd handpicked to have a girl. Like I said before, we used a calendar to determine which days would be the best for bedroom activities. Well, mother-in-law accused me of forcing him to do it with me on the specific day with the Chinese horoscope with points a girl. She also interrogated me on the position we used to conceive the baby, which I gave her a peace of mind and told her that was none of her business. But she smugly informed me that my husband had already told her and the position we used makes it 60% more likely to have a girl that way. If anyone's currently trying for a girl specifically, doing it with a woman on top sometime in the middle of February should do the trick every time apparently. She finished off by telling me that my clear preference for my family name was disgusting, and she was glad to finally be rid of me and my manipulative ways before hanging up. I've had no contact with my husband since, and it's been over a month. He's blocked me and everything. I can't help but feel that this hasn't all been his choice. But then again, he's a grown adult, so I can't imagine his mother controlling him like that. I've been staying with my sister since it all went down. She says I can stay as long as I need, but I'm thinking I want to get my own place. Maybe even a few states away. What do I do? Should I pack up and move on? Should I continue trying to contact my husband? Any advice would be appreciated. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Take him to court and get the child support that he owes you. He doesn't get to shake off his responsibility like that. Agreed. And luckily for OP, courts favor the mother. What in the literal hell? I am so sorry for you, OP. This is absolutely a crazy situation. For a woman to be sexist against a little baby girl is so insane to me. Your husband is for sure being manipulated and controlled by his mother. I would maybe try to see him in person after he gets off work or something and confront him about what the heck is going on. That way his mother can't intercept the conversation. It would be a lot harder for him to avoid giving you some answers. Outside of that, maybe talking to his friends that could talk some sense into him? I don't know. He needs to get away from his mother though. Best of luck, OP. All of those things people try to do to attempt to conceive a specific gender for the baby are myths. None of them are true. It's literally impossible for you to have influenced this. The fact that your mother-in-law is holding this against you is wild. Your husband has literally just abandoned you. This is disgusting behavior. I'm so sorry, OP. I hope things turn out better for you at the end of this. Best of luck. Now for the first update. Thank you all for all the love. It means so much to me right now. I should have mentioned originally that I had a gut feeling to record a call with my mother-in-law, so I have all of that on hand if it's needed in the future. I'm planning to try catching my husband on his way out of work sometime next week. I'd like to hear his side of the story. I've decided, however, that even if there's any saving our relationship, I'll be changing my last name back to my maiden name, and our daughter will be taking my last name, or at the very least have a hyphenated name. Call me feminist or whatnot, but it will be non-negotiable. I'll also be requiring many boundaries between me and his mother, and she will not be in my child's life until she can find it in her to apologize to me sincerely and change her attitude towards us. Now for the second update. Wow, I honestly haven't been on here at all since my last update, because, well, growing a human is hard as it is, and then add my crazy life on top of it. But after getting hundreds of emails from you guys today, I realized it must have been shared somewhere else to be blowing up like this. And now that there are so many of you, I figured I owe you all an update. So here it is. Hopefully I can get this all typed out in a way that makes sense. Even though it's been a few weeks since this all went down, I'm still in shock, and I haven't been able to collect my thoughts. Let's just blame it on the pregnancy brain and pretend that my life isn't falling apart before my own eyes. I was able to catch my husband as he was leaving work one night and got a side of the story out of him like I had hoped. As suspected, he admitted that he was excited for a baby girl, and after speaking to his mom, she forced him to leave and block me. His mother already had the divorce papers ready to go. I tried to tell him that we could fix this. We could raise our daughter together away from his mother. I know I sound not right in the head and naive for this, but I grew up in a household without a father figure, and I was hopeful my daughter could have a different home life experience than what I had. Not to discredit my mother. She is a great woman, and I hope I can be half of the woman she is for my daughter one day. Anyways, my husband had none of it. He said that he realized how conniving and manipulative and abusive I had been throughout our entire relationship. And he did want to actually go through with a divorce. He said he'd have no problem giving me full custody of the thing that's growing inside of me. That's when I lost all hope. Screw him. I have no problem leaving a man who's so easily brainwashed by his mother like that. I'll raise this baby alone. That's bad enough, but here's the real icing on the cake. I received a phone call from my soon-to-be ex-husband's brother's wife. We've always been quite close, and she's been my saving grace throughout my pregnancy, giving me all the tips for nausea, etc. She has 3 of her own, 2 boys and a girl. Anyways, she informed me over the phone that she overheard a conversation at weekly Sunday dinner that mother-in-law and husband are trying to blindside me in court and take full custody. I was livid, full on seeing red. I called mother-in-law straight away and demanded to speak to my husband. All he had to say for himself was that he realized he didn't want any of this offspring to be raised by such a manipulative freak, and even though he doesn't actually want her, he's sure he can grow to love her again. I'm not sure what to do at this point. I know I have a good case for myself, but I'm freaking terrified they'll win the battle and take everything from me. It brings tears to my eyes thinking about my daughter growing up somewhere where she isn't loved. Even if custody split is 50-50, I'll have no control over the lies they are guaranteed to feed her. My emotions are going haywire trying to write all this out, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for all the love and support you all have shown me and my baby girl. The internet can truly be an amazing place. Edit, adding that my brother-in-law and his wife are planning on leaving the family dynamic after seeing the way I've been treated. They have a daughter of their own, and while she's been accepted as she wasn't the firstborn, they're very uncomfortable with the misogyny within the family. Brother-in-law is the firstborn, and I think the what-ifs are messing with his head. Now for more comments before Opie's last update. All I can really say is get a good lawyer. Document every single thing you can when it comes to this family, and as soon as you can, get away from them and make sure you are only in contact with people you truly trust. It's going to be messy and stressful, but I know you'll be strong enough to get through this for you and your baby. We're rooting for you. Thank you so much. I'm definitely keeping things documented, and most interactions have been recorded and are on file, and copies have been sent to my lawyer. Can you move to another state and establish residence there before the birth? This right here, Opie. Move prior to divorce is started because it will show you're established, and it will be harder to ask for a move during a divorce or after. Divorces are messy sometimes because of people like your mother-in-law, etc. Record every phone call and have witnesses as well. Any child would be happy to have you as mom. You will be fine, and just keep moving forward every day at a time. Please keep us posted. I'm so incredibly sorry you're dealing with this. Your soon-to-be ex does not deserve you or your little one. Highly recommend getting a good lawyer ASAP and keep documenting/recording all your calls with them. Wishing you the best and sending so much love. Also, Opie, thank you for sharing your story and keeping us all posted. This made me cry. Thank you so much. I am so sorry to hear his misogynistic ways caused him to call his own child a thing. He's no man, and his mother is no woman. What makes a mother is the level of compassion we have for others to care for others and protect our own, and she is not that. She will get what's coming to her one day, and she will regret everything she done. Her actions will cause her to lose all her children. And as for your husband, he cannot be an able-bodied human acting like he is now. As a new mom who has 2 beautiful baby girls, they are a blessing. They're like little angels on earth, and every day is so amazing to see them grow. You will get to experience such a wonderful thing happen with your baby girl, and she will look up to you the same way you looked up to your mother. One day, she will know the truth, and all she'll see is her mother as her hero. Now for the last update. Thank you so much for all your support. I've been in contact with my lawyer about how best to proceed, and for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to give any more information at this point in time. But I've seen all of your messages, and I'm truly so grateful for all the advice and care being sent our way. I have a very good lawyer working with me, and both me and my baby are and will be safe through the coming months. Once again, thank you all so much for your kindness. It's helped me feel somewhat sane throughout all of this. It made me realize that I am entitled to feel the ways I'm feeling. You've truly given me a community where people have my back and truly want what's best for me. I'll be logging off until things have settled and baby is born. Maybe I'll return for a final update at some point. But for now, I'm focusing on my own health and the health of my baby as I prepare for the courtroom. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for stealing my sister and nephew's thunder with my pregnancy announcement? I'm currently pregnant with my first child. My fiancé and I collectively decided to hold off telling people for at least 3 months for the following reasons. 1. Didn't want to jump the gun in case it didn't work out. And 2. My sister was mid-pregnancy with her first after struggling with conceiving for 7 years, and we didn't want to steal the thunder. So baby was born and all is well. My fiancé and I decided to hold off another month so all the attention could be on my sister and nephew. We announced to his friends and family in the meantime and everyone was super thrilled. A few days ago, I told my parents and they were over the moon. I sent out a nice email with a little e-card and some sonogram pictures to the family members that are spread out and that I don't see regularly and can't tell in person. My sister included as she lives in a different state than I do. We got a lot of congratulations and excitement from most everyone, except my sister and her husband. She called, in tears, tearing into me for planning this and stealing attention from her son that took her so long to have. I told her this wasn't planned, it just happened. That made things worse, as I am significantly younger than her. And then it turned into her ranting at me how nice it must be to just be able to accidentally get pregnant when she had to fight, struggle, and, her words, actually work to have a family. Her husband was in the background and backing her up. I told her we had even taken an extra month to wait to tell people, specifically so she and my nephew could have undivided celebration and attention. Then I ended a call. My fiancé and his family are on our side. My family is a little too OMG new baby to gauge properly, but my sister and her husband definitely think I am an a-hole. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. Your sister may not be in a clear state of mind due to hormones, exhaustion, and potentially even postpartum depression. Don't take it too personally and let her have time to sit with it for a few days before trying to talk again. You've done nothing wrong, and she doesn't get to decide when someone else can get pregnant or under what circumstances. It was considerate of you to wait as long as you did. Yep, came here to say basically the same thing. Lack of sleep can really put you in a horrible emotional state. Give your sister space, enjoy your pregnancy, and celebrate with the people who want to celebrate with you. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, drama queen detected. I wouldn't want to call her a drama queen, but could be my own bias. I can't imagine being in her shoes and struggling with infertility, and only being able to have a kid in her almost mid-30s. It's definitely got to suck, and I feel for her deeply. I agree. I can understand why she would be upset, but she is the a-hole 100% for not understanding that what she is experiencing is jealousy, which is a natural human emotion and is okay to experience, and blaming it on you instead of dealing with it like an adult. It sucks, but it's not your fault in any way. Not the a-hole, and in fact, you are very nice, because the second she attacked me over my fertility, I know my temper would have kicked in, and I would have said some very vile sister relationship changing words to her. So good job. I never get how people, grown adults even, are actually verbal nowadays about not getting enough attention. It just sounds pathetic and sad to me. I almost always have the same impulse to say, you're a freaking adult. I partially feel maybe it's more about her nephew. She's the first of any of us to have kids on my side of the family, so she has gotten like mega superstar attention for it. And I feel maybe some of her insecurity is that her kid is gonna have competition possibly, now that is not the only baby. Am I the a-hole for locking the door to my home so my husband's friend couldn't come in? Plus update. My husband's friend has been living with us for about 6 months now. When my husband presented the idea to me about him moving in, I was hesitant, but he was determined to get him out of the streets. Fast forward to present day, his friend got a part-time job at FedEx, then quit a couple of weeks ago because he didn't like how his supervisor was talking to him. He does not contribute anything to our home, doesn't help cook, clean, or watch our children. Our oldest girl keeps an eye out on our toddler more than he does. He will go in our office and spark up some weed, no matter how many times I tell him and my husband that he needs to do that outdoors. Yesterday, I hit my breaking point. I wasn't feeling well as I had a migraine. 3 of our kids had dentist appointments. I don't know about you guys, but getting kids out the door can be challenging regardless, let alone when you're feeling sick from your head pounding nonstop. I go outside with our kids to see that my car was gone. He took my car to go smoke with his coworker. My husband was at work. Furious wasn't the word to describe it. I immediately went back inside and tried to call him. No answer. I then called my husband where he is side, like he was so annoyed with me and said he would call him. I tried explaining to my husband that I'm at my wit's end. We have 6 kids and I get no help from him or his friend. He sleeps on our couch and doesn't even fold his blanket up in the morning. My husband proceeds to tell me that I'm overreacting and that I need to calm down. I ended up locking my front door and refused to open it until my husband got home. However, when he got home, he didn't try to come inside. He took a picture of our door, went on Instagram, and told the world, "Have you ever been locked out of your own home?" I lost it. I feel like I've been more than patient and I can't do it anymore. I don't get help or basic respect in my own home, and I'm constantly gaslit. My husband has a history of getting extremely angry and scary, so I told him he needed to wait until our children were asleep in bed before coming in, as I was afraid he'd come in irate, lashing out in front of them like before. Am I the a-hole how I handled this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. So many red flags. Not the a-hole, but for your sake and safety, I hope there's a safe place you can turn to since your home is clearly not that anymore. I'm in a state where I have no family or friends. He's active duty, so we've been here about a year and a half now. I'm trying to get out of this situation, but I realistically can't just pack up my kids and leave. I have nowhere else to go. Are you in base housing? Can you speak with someone military related that could do something about the situation for you if your husband will not? I'm not in base housing. There's not a base out here for the branch that he's in, but there's another base for a different branch. I'm going to reach out to one of their family advocacy people this morning and see what my options are. My husband has a history of getting extremely angry and scary. Hun, you are in an abusive relationship. You need to get help and to get out of this situation. Call a divorce lawyer. That's the most important thing right now. Not the a-hole, but I am seriously concerned about your safety. For sure. Said it perfectly. OP, your husband is enabling his friend to be abusive to you. His friend is taking advantage of the fact your husband is weak-willed and a flow standing of a husband. Remove yourself from that situation for your safety and your children. Not the a-hole. First of all, your husband's friend stole your car. If you have the car registered in just your name, I would file police report. Second, I would tell your husband that he either gets his friend to move out or you and the kids go. I would advise finding somewhere you can take the kids for a bit, maybe a relative or a friend's home, in case your husband decides to take his anger out on you. If you are ready, I would think about seeking a divorce attorney. You and your children do not deserve to live like this and be treated like this, and it is clear that your husband does not care about the well-being of you or your children. I am so sorry you are going through this. It seems as though your husband feels as though his friend is more important than your family, which is not okay. Not the a-hole. She and the kids should stay. Husband and his friend can get a hotel. The kids do not need their lives appended by this. Also, there are 6 kids. I love my friends and family and would totally volunteer my couch for short term, but I don't have room to house 6 kids even for a couple of days. Now for the little update. So I contacted the base nearest me and was granted an MPO, Military Protection Order for those who aren't familiar. It took a couple of tries to get a hold of someone, but when I did, I freaking sobbed while trying to summarize everything that's been happening to me. She said he will not be allowed to come home or contact me until the investigation is complete. She was extremely nice and sympathetic with my situation, so that gives me slight hope. This is the second biggest step I've ever taken in regards to getting my kids out of here and ending my marriage. The first was locking the door yesterday. I don't know where his friend is, but I put his things out my house late last night and told him to come get it. It was gone when I woke up this morning. I can't describe how terrified I am at the unknown. I'm going to change the locks to the doors within the next 24 hours. I'm also going to sit my kids down tonight and explain why I did what I did and come up with a game plan. I can't begin to describe how thankful I am for every single piece of advice, well wishes, links to resources, even the tough love I received from everyone today. All of it is appreciated, honestly. It's extremely scary not knowing what tomorrow will bring, but it's amazing to know that I have a bunch of internet strangers rooting for me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for my ultimatum about a paternity test? That he could have one done or he could have a family with me but not both? My husband Chris and I are about to have our first baby. A little girl. We've been married for 7 years and we don't fight much. We're both pretty practical, logical people, and we usually find it easy to work conflict out without it getting too heated. Until now. We were talking about the birth, and he mentioned wanting the hospital to do a paternity test before the birth certificate gets signed, just to check that box. He talked about it like checking a box at my job, like just so matter of fact. But this isn't like work. Not at all. I felt hurt. I felt like the fact that he even asked showed he had doubt I was faithful. I've always been faithful. He's actually been the only man I've ever been with. We met as high school sweethearts and I'm 100% sure our daughter is his. So I took some time alone to think. And then I told him he could have it one of two ways. I would only want to build a family in a relationship where there was faith and trust and integrity. So if he wanted to build a family together, he could trust that I haven't strayed, skip the test, and we put this behind us. Or, if he really wanted a test, he could have it. But I didn't want to be in a relationship without that trust. So we could get a divorce. We would set up a custody schedule. He would get the test. He would find out she's his daughter, like I said. And he could have partial custody. He freaked out at me, saying it was insane I was talking about divorce a month before my due. And that he just wanted to be sure and that I was acting crazy. I told him he could be sure if he wanted. But if he did, I would be sure I couldn't stay in this relationship. He told me I was acting crazy. And he just wanted to dot his I's and cross his T's. And how I should know from my job that just checking something doesn't mean you don't trust it. I'm a system safety engineer and I verify designs and implementation for railway systems. He told me that I check every damn wire thrice over. It is not because I expect they're gonna be corroded a day after installing. You just gotta check. I said that the hazards I was trying to address there were reasonable and agreed on by all stakeholders. But the hazard in this situation, if we wanted to talk work, was that I was impregnated by another man. And if that's a hazard he's concerned with, I didn't know why he was with me. Not that my job even is relevant here, because with engineering, it's like, trust nothing, triple check everything, have several other people independently checking too. And that's no way to have a relationship. I told him on the phone he could have the paternity test or he could have a family with me, but not both. He told his parents about this and his dad was angry I was talking about divorce right when I'm pregnant with his granddaughter, which is ick. Anyway, I feel like even waiting for my husband's answer is making me reconsider this relationship. I don't know if it's just pregnancy moods, but I feel like I'm falling out of love. Am I the a-hole for my ultimatum? Ask him to submit to a full round of STD tests monthly just to check that box. I'll stay whole. Oh, you're less crazy than me. I would be going through his phone daily. I'd need to be logged into all his socials, and it'd probably also need a tracking app installed as well, just to make sure all the boxes are checked and all that. Which, as I was typing all that, all I could think was, this is so freaking unhealthy. You would become a shell of a person. Don't do that to yourself. Not the a-hole. Reminds me of the post where a man ruined his whole marriage by getting a paternity test. His wife didn't stand his mistrust, so she left. OP, maybe show your husband that post to kick him back to his senses. Edit, your husband is the one ruining the marriage, not you. After being together for 7 years, how can he not trust your daughter to be his? Not the a-hole. He doesn't seem to grasp that he is accusing you of cheating. Unfortunately, these claims often arise when the husband has been cheating and projecting it onto the wife. You should ask him to prove he's not cheating as he's asking you. That is what my first husband did. I never cheated, and found out later he was sleeping with his friends' wives, but had the nerve to accuse me. Of course you are not the a-hole, but do you know why he is asking? I am sure it isn't just to check a box. There has to be a reason. Either he suspects you of being unfaithful, he is being unfaithful and is projecting, or someone he knows is putting stupid thoughts in his head. Before you go all the way to divorce, you might want to look into the wife first. I keep trying to get the bottom of it, and all he says is meaningless excuse like, to be sure, or I never thought you'd be one to judge someone trying to do their due diligence, or just want to get all the paperwork and legal stuff done right. Which, why? Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to kick my cousin out? I, 29, live with my pregnant fiancée Sarah, 27, and my cousin Mira, 18. To make a long story short, I've basically raised Mira myself since she was 4 and I was 15. Her parents are extremely negligent, and when I was 20, she ended up basically moving in with me. While she calls me by name and call me her cousin, we have a father-daughter relationship. Mira is obviously important to me. She didn't get along with Sarah at first. I think she just hated sharing my attention. But I thought they get along well now. Sarah and I have discussed Mira and her situation. And while I knew Sarah thought independence is better, I personally think it's better for her to stay here while she goes to university. A few days ago, Mira came up to me crying and apologizing. She basically said she was sorry for being a burden and hurting me, for not realizing how I felt, and that she would move out and everything. I had no idea what was going on, and when I managed to calm her down, she basically told me that Sarah had talked to her. Apparently, she told her that she's old enough to move out and stop being a burden on me, that she needs to stop taking advantage of my kindness. I got pretty angry, and I reassured Mira that I love her and wouldn't kick her out or anything. I was furious and argued with Sarah about it. Apparently, she thinks I'm letting Mira take advantage of me, that she's old enough to be independent. She even thinks it's such an issue that Mira has been referring to the baby as her little sister, that she's my cousin and I have an actual daughter coming, so I can't keep cuddling her. Basically, she thinks I'm spoiling her with all this, which is ridiculous. That she did it this way because I left her no choice. The whole just a cousin has really angered me. Even if not by blood, she is my daughter. I raised her and love her. Sure, I spent a lot of time and money and whatnot on her, but I would do that for any child I had. Our argument went terribly. I don't understand how can she see Mira as some leech I need to stand up to, and that she did what had to be done. Mira was really happy I didn't feel that way, and obviously hates Sarah now. Sarah and most of my in-laws obviously say she's right, and I need to have appropriate boundaries. Our friends mostly agree with Sarah. Even my best friend basically told me that Sarah's right when I vented. Apparently, I basically forgot my place at It's Unhealthy. I really don't agree with them. But having so many disagree, especially my best friend, is giving me doubts. I want what's best for Mira. And while I personally want her to stay, if it is actually unhealthy, maybe Sarah would be right. Sarah definitely went the wrong way, but maybe I was wrong to not take some of the worry seriously. Now for the top comments. Not day hall. Mira is in university. It's great that you're willing to let her live at home so she can get an education and hopefully not graduate with an overwhelming pile of debt. As long as she's in school and working towards supporting herself, that's a young adult worth subsidizing. I find it odd that you know Sarah well enough to marry her but had no clue how she felt about Mira or that she would go behind your back that way. I hate to tell you, but you knocked up the wrong person. Thanks, and I agree. It's definitely a lot better than moving out young like I had to. And I'm starting to feel that too. It's so shocking to me. I never expected her to do something like this. When you write that you spent a lot of time and money on Mira, what does that entail? Because yes, you might be in the right and your fiancé ridiculous. But is it possible she feels neglected and that you are spending so much money on Mira that you are not saving for your goals with her or is financially set for the baby? If that is not the case, I think your in-laws and friends are ridiculous. As you say, she has been a daughter to you and any reasonable parent would take care of their kid. For money, I wouldn't say it's anything super crazy. Like, it's not much beyond normal costs. I do pay bills for us and groceries and whatnot. And I'm happy to help with expensive things depending. For the most part, I pay most of her essentials and she pays for extras she wants. And saves the rest, and I have enough to afford a baby, I'd say. For time, I try to balance it. Every Tuesday specifically for Mira, aside from emergencies. Fridays tend to be date nights for me and Sarah, or at least some time just for us. And every other day it depends. I did always spend a lot of time with Mira, but it's not like I always put her first. We still hang out a lot, but she's got university and her friends, so it's less. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not recognizing my sister-in-law without makeup? I, 33 male, have been married to my wife, 32 female, for 4 years, and we have been together for 10. She has an older sister, Emily, who moved out when she was 18 or 19. My wife, Kate, has a great relationship with Emily. She visits us a few times a month. Sometimes she takes our kids out, and we also do some activities as a family with her, like hiking, going overseas, and so on. We do not ask her to babysit our kids as they have a nanny and my mother to do so. My mother has left her job to spend more time with her grandchildren on her own free will, and we do reimburse her. Now, Emily's a lot into makeup. In fact, I have never seen her without heavy makeup. Even when she stays over, she comes out from her room with full face on and wears waterproof makeup to the swimming pool or to the beach. From what Kate told me, she has been like this since Emily was 13. Over the weekend, our daughter, who is 7, has sneaked into Emily's room when she was staying over and decided to play with her makeup and hide it. That was early in the morning. When I woke up, I bumped into Emily in the hallway while she was looking for her makeup and did not recognize her at all. She looked completely different from what I'm used to. It looked like a middle-aged woman. I have nearly called the police as I thought someone broke in our house, but Kate stopped me. However, Emily already heard me saying, "Who the heck are you?" and is aware I have not recognized her. I have apologized and have explained to my wife and my sister-in-law that I didn't recognize her and thought a stranger broke in, as Emily looked so different without makeup. However, Emily got upset and my wife called me an a-hole for this. Emily left, and Kate is giving me a cold shoulder. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are on my side, but I'm wondering if I was really an a-hole. Not the a-hole. It was a genuine mistake. But you need to have a lengthy chat with your 7-year-old about how inappropriate it is to go into someone else's stuff and hide it. Perhaps something that's a favorite of the child's should be hidden, so the child can see how unpleasant of an action that actually is. I actually think your sister-in-law is a bit of an a-hole here. If she constantly goes around wearing heavy makeup, she shouldn't be shocked when people who know her don't recognize her if she's wearing none. That's the problem with heavy makeup. Maybe it was a hit to her ego that you viewed her as a stranger after knowing her about a decade, but her residual image data in your head is much different from what she looks like without makeup on. Oh, I have talked to my daughter and explained she should not have touched someone else's things without their consent. Apparently, Emily said to her they will play princess dress up, and my daughter couldn't wake Emily up and decided to have a head start without her as she was so excited. Update. My soon-to-be ex-husband humiliated me on our wedding day and met his karma instantly. Original post. It has been 2 days since my wedding day. I had already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room, or the bride's face being smashed into the cake. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that at our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making strange arrangements with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad that he was helping me with the wedding preparations. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony, until the moment came when the cake was to be cut. The whole room watched as I made a first cut, and the photographer stood in front of us with the camera in hand. Suddenly, I felt a hand on the back of my head pushing me face first into the cake. Not only my makeup, but the whole wedding dress was ruined, and the whole room laughed. My husband the loudest. At that moment, the photographer took the photo and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, slapped him in the face and ran out of the room in tears. Thank God karma didn't take long to arrive and came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the toilet and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the toilet, he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment because I had always thought of him as a kind and gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again, and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short, and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband and I didn't want to see him. During the ride, Frank apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was horrible even back when he was a brother and used every special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw his cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it all off by saying that that's just how brothers behave. So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband bury my face in a cake, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no, because according to him, I deserve better. And he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it on himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things, he would help me and gave me his number. And I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and informed Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this. but I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it, even after promising he wouldn't do it, then I can't trust him. No matter what he promises me, I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care at all how I feel about his decisions. The situation can be projected onto so many much worse situations where it would be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only one who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. Now for the top comments before reading the update. OP, I'm sorry this happened, but so proud of you. You warned him multiple times and he felt it was more important to get laughs than be a trustworthy partner. I don't know why people think humiliation is a prank. If you have to explain that it was a joke, it's not funny. Best of luck. P.S. Please let Frank know he's a good man, and we appreciate him having your back. Thank you for your support. See if you maybe can go for an annulment so you don't have to go through the divorce process. I don't know what the requirements for that are, but you really did the right thing in leaving him. Check with the wedding officiant. They may not have filed a marriage license yet. It's possible you could end it there, by tearing it up, rather than filing it at a courthouse. He lied and was disrespectful, obviously not the things you want in a marriage. Divorcing him now will save you from dealing with more boundaries being broken and heartache. You deserve better. Yes, that's what I've been saying. Stay strong. Honestly, I'd go no contact with those that are gaslighting you. They are disrespectful too. Hugs. It's hard going no contact with most of my family members, but I thought about keeping Frank around as a friend, even if he's the brother of my ex. Definitely keep Frank. He's proven that he's got your back. Start asking your family members why they think so little of themselves that they would stay with an untrustworthy partner. Make sure you sound concerned when you do it. They'll shut up quick. Now for the update. Many of you pointed out that I could get an annulment. Don't ask me why I didn't think of this earlier. But after you guys pointed it out, I plan on doing that. Haven't done it yet, but it will happen the next few weeks. It will probably be much easier than a divorce. With that being said, so a day after I wrote the original post, I went to Jake's apartment to get my stuff. I slept over at my best friend's house meanwhile. Of course, I also took up Frank's offer to help me getting my stuff. When we arrived there, he pleaded with me that it was just a prank and he didn't mean to hurt me. But the only thing I could think about is how he broke my trust before. And now I couldn't trust him now if he told me he didn't mean to hurt me. When he saw Frank, his face turned red, and he yelled at Frank and accused him of poisoning me against him. Don't worry, Jake, you did this to yourself. He argued with Frank for a while, and Frank confronted him with everything he did to him during his childhood. He told Frank to grow a pair and that he should forget about what happened back then. Ironic when he's the one who never changed, and it's just as bad as before. He constantly tried to talk to me, but Frank stood in his way and talked over him, and when we left, I saw how he angrily smashed the door. Apparently, he now spread lies to his family that Frank tried to steal me from him. Luckily, I was able to see who he really was before it was too late. What a coincidence that after this incident, my family spammed me with messages as well, about how we should talk to a therapist instead of breaking up over this. They only stopped when I threatened them to cut them off too. I told Frank about my post here, and Frank told me he read many of your comments. He said he liked your comments and that you made his day. I thought you might want to know this. This is probably the first and last update of this. I just want to get this behind me and look forward. But thank y'all for your support. Depending on the state you live in, you may need to file for annulment really soon, if not ASAP, or you already missed your chance. Check ASAP and don't put it off. Some debts of his may follow you if you are married when he incurred the debts, so get it done fast. Annulments have deadlines as far as I'm aware. In the previous post, some commenters suggested reaching out to the officiant to see if they mailed the paperwork in yet. Some don't mail it right away for situations like this. That would be even easier than an annulment, and I wanted to post here for visibility. My vote is for nuclear revenge. Agree to take Jake back only if he hosts a whole second wedding. One is identical to the first as possible. He has to do all the legwork and set everything up. He has 4 months to make it happen. Then just don't show up. Let all your family know. Let his brother know. No one else. By the way, this was mainly a joke. I hope no one takes it seriously. OP, I'm sorry you had to wait to find this all out this way, but it beats finding out in 2 to 3 years. Good luck in the future. I know it's a joke, but still, even if I took him back for that, it still would be way too risky in my opinion. Don't take that POS back. I just read both posts to my husband and we are both in awe what an a-hole that man is. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Next story. My husband thinks I slept with another man, but the reality is different. I caught my husband of 10 years cheating on me with multiple women. He bragged about how he was able to get laid. I know one woman who was 19 years old. It seems like it was just an ego boost for him. I always knew he had issues with his ego. He was a very insecure man. Whenever someone does something better than him, he would get jealous. Looking back, I regret choosing him because I thought that he was a sweet person, so it didn't matter if he's a bit egotistical. When I found out that he was cheating, I left him and took my kids with me. I also exposed his affairs. He has since been begging me to take him back. I know for sure he is begging because his mom kicked his butt, and no one is taking his side. His last move is to make me reconcile with him so that he is somewhat acceptable. I refused, because all the things he said about me, about my body, he can never come back from it. I nearly died after giving birth to my son, and all he said was that my body's ruined. So my friend gave me an idea to hook up with someone else as a revenge. I was hesitant. I'm not someone who can do random hookups. So I staged a lie. With the help of my friends, I staged having a revenge affair. The last time he came to convince me, he said he cut off all contact with his affair partner and got himself into therapy. I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to crush his ego and crush his confidence. Told him that I slept with someone else. At first, he didn't believe me. Told me I was lying. So I pulled out my phone where there was text exchange between me and a random guy, which was just me and my friends chatting. We exchanged pics, fake pics, and there were spicy messages. He started to believe me. He pestered to know more about this guy. I made up a story how he is someone I met at the gym. I can see him losing his mind. He started cursing me, "How can you do this to me?" He started asking me questions. Did you use protection? How many times did you do it? Did he make me come? The last thing that actually broke him was when he asked my friend about it. She's the friend with whom I'm staying currently. She lied to him and said that we were making noises all night. And I sent my kids to my mom's for that. I can see my cheating husband having a meltdown. He really thought he was all that. I might end up hooking up with a random person because I'm done with him and I'm done with our marriage. Now for the top comments. He sounds like a narcissist. You deserve better. To add more, he texted me and said I shouldn't think I'm better because I slept with a man out of my league. He will still not be with me and he just used me for release. Yeah, just add this to your evidence pile and contact a lawyer. See if he will leave the home so you can stay put. Unless you feel unsafe, then leave if you need to. Honestly, this is probably better than actually having a revenge affair. To be honest, my heart is still loyal to my marriage. No matter how much I hate him, he is still on paper, my husband. I cannot disrespect my vows. I say that is a good thing for now. It shows that you're a good person at your core, that even after he betrayed you, you feel that you can't do the same. It seems like it's all very recent still. I hope it gets better with time. All the best to you and your kids. I'm so happy for you, lady. A refreshing read to see a woman not backing down. Just another encouragement to stay away, as men like this are STD grab bags. Staying away from him is best for your health. God knows how long he has been cheating. I'm glad I'm clean. Last story. My boyfriend, possible fiancé, said that when he dies, he wants to be buried next to his late wife. For some context, my boyfriend was married to his late wife for 4 years and dated for 6 prior to that. They have a son together. I know my boyfriend, whom I'll name Glenn for the sake of the post, was deeply in love with her. They're high school sweethearts who got married in their 20s. He only began dating again like 8 years after her passing. Now, we've been together for 5 years and I'll admit that at first, I used to be jealous and insecure about Glenn's late wife. I thought that him still loving her meant he could never love me, and I was just supposed to be her replacement. We actually broke up in our first year. It only got together because of the next Valentine's Day. Glenn wrote me a letter professing what he felt for me and we decided to have a talk. I understood that our love and their love are different, and what he feels for her doesn't undermine what he feels for me. I tried to avoid the if she were alive kind of train of thought because it's hurtful for both him, me, and their son. We're together, and I firmly believe that's what matters now. During the years, Glenn and I have talked about marriage, but with how hectic my career has been in the market surrounding it, it didn't felt comfortable having a deeper talk until now. With holidays leaving our door, we decided to have a proper talk about marriage and what we want. We decided we want to get married and began talking about what was expected of it. Mid-talk, he stops and says that whatever happens, he's getting buried next to his late wife. Not gonna lie, this took me by surprise. I said there was no need to rush and we could talk about funeral arrangements later. He said we could, but that was done. When his wife died, he already set a double spot for when he passes away. He, and I kid you not, said he could give me the name so I could be buried near him. It was as bad as it is, honestly, but me, trying to keep the peace and be understanding, I asked why could it be buried next to him too? He has 2 sides after all. But he didn't like that. Oh, he didn't like that. I could see it in his face. He didn't say anything else, but it was written all over his face. I just stood up and said I had to go, nothing more. I guess he came to his senses or realized what he had implied because he called me next morning. This happened on Thursday, and he has texted me ever since. But I know it. This relationship is over. In the end, his always and forever is her, and I get it. I respect it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. The relationship has never been bad. His surroundings is not a constant reminder of his late wife. He's not constantly bringing her up. I know I'm overreacting, but that look, as if me asking was stupid. Like there's no way I'll ever share that spot next to him. I'll probably answer him to have a talk next week, but I just know it. This is over. I'll never be able to forget that look in his face. It's awesome that he loved her so much, but you want to be with someone who loves you as much as he loved her. It's so sad he lost her. Knowing he plans his representation of eternity next to her and not you, you made a right decision for yourself. I think there's a big difference between him loving his late wife but having come to terms and move on with his own life. And that's what actually happened, where he seems to see his and Opie's relationship as less than. It's an awful situation, but like you said, Opie deserves unconditional love and not to be someone's backup option. You're not overreacting. With that involuntary facial expression, he told you how he really felt. Of course he's gonna be nice and tell you blah blah, but the truth is he's with you or any other woman because he can't be with a woman he really wants to be with. Good for you for putting yourself first. I wish you the best. And with what he said, that he could drop the name so she could be near him if she wanted, he didn't even care where she'd like to be buried, or if she even already had plans to. He doesn't even care if she would or wants to be buried next to him. Her option was totally reasonable. He could have been in the middle and they could be on either side. I feel like somebody already told Opie she's overreacting and this can be talked over. That's why she feels like that.